What's going on, everybody? This is Coach Kyle Smith of the Elite 32 League. Just showing off some end of the year highlights and kind of discuss what went down at the end of the season and how it all transpired. Basically, the first 5 games I started 0-5, and I think I might have missed 4 of those games. So four of my losses came from like free wins throughout the season, and I got a couple, towards the middle and the end of the year as well. So I mean, it all worked out. But at the end of the day, we turned out to be 10-6, which was pretty good considering how I started out. I mean, you'll see from these highlights that I start thrashing people late in the year. But overall, we had a really good year. Like I said, 10-6. We had Blake Bortles throw for over 4,000 yards. I had basically 2,000-yard receivers. Allen Hurns and Allen Robinson both, had 1,000 yards. Allen Hurns, to be more specific, had 5 more receptions for 957 yards. And Allen Robinson had 1,100 yards. Also had a 1,000-yard rusher in Chris Ivory at 1,039. He had 5 touchdowns. But Hearns and Robinson both had 10 touchdowns each. Julius Thomas only had 697 yards and 5 touchdowns. So Blake Bortles, 34 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. And again, I didn't play half of these games probably at the end of the day. Again, 4 of them I missed, and I probably had 2 or 3 in there that I got a free win for as well. So had I played every game, these numbers might have actually been a little bit better. Offensively, defensively is where we made our real big impact. Bottom in the league in sacks, however, only had 24 sacks, with my highest sack leader being Malik Jackson at 7.5. My next closest was Dante Fowler Jr. at 4.5. So that's going to be one of our big concerns going into the offseason, is increasing that. But we finished out with the top 10 defense in both scoring and yards allowed and turnovers. So there's a big plus there. Part of the reason we went 10-6 was because of the play of that defense, even though we were dead last in sacks with only, like I said, about 24 or 26. It was really pathetic. My leading tackler actually ended up being Paul Poslutsky. But even though he didn't play, he played in every game, but he wasn't part of my nickel package, which is what I stayed in, probably a solid 60% of the time. And at the end of the day, interceptions. I believe it was tied for interceptions with Jonathan Cypher and Taj Gibson, my 2 safeties. And Jalen Ramsey, the rookie, and Prince Kamar each had 5 each. So I had 4 players with more than 5 interceptions, which is really, really solid. Telvin Smith and Paul Puz and Miles Jack, my 3 starting linebackers, each had at least, I know, 3. There might have actually been 4. I'm sorry, Paul actually had 2. But Telvin had 4 picks. I think Miles Jack might have had 3. So all in all, we were a ball hawk defense that had no pass rush. So how we pulled that off, I don't know, and we can't really expect that going into next year either. So as far as what we lose, we don't lose anything. Probably the biggest losses I had to the pass rush was so abysmal at the beginning of the season that I actually had to sign a guy off the street, probably like week 4 or 5. I think his name was Austin Jones or Howard Jones or something like that. Anyway, he is no longer with us as on the team. I'm trying to find him to re-sign him because he did play well for me, and I think he's a pretty good project player. But somebody else might have already scooped him up. I'm not really sure. So hopefully we can find him. Outside of that, we didn't lose anybody else. So we're returning our full starting 22. The only thing we lost was some backup defensive linemen, although I have a plethora of defensive tackles. So if you might want a defensive tackle, Malik Jackson is staying with me. But I have a lot of defensive tackles. Bring back all 5 starters on offensive line. I only allowed 24 sacks, but part of that was because of the type of offense I play. It's a run first, play action, pass heavy, throw deep down the field kind of offense based on the motion, the pre-auto motion, which I think those plays are a little bit underrated. Just because it gets you moving one way and thinking something else is coming. So, coming into the season, or going into the off season, we're looking to try to sign at least 1 pass rusher, and then the rest be drafts. And might be making some moves to maybe trade for a premier pass rusher, just because, again, we really lacked on that side of the ball. in terms of pass rush. The only other one is this guy running right now, Denard Robinson. I let walk. And again, free agency just started, so I'm going to try to re-sign him before somebody else does. And he's primarily just a special teams player. He did a really good job for me. I saw in some of these clips of just punt returns. He's a shifty guy, so it all works out really, really, really nicely. So come draft time, we're hoping to get probably a couple offensive linemen because I didn't run the ball as well as I wanted to. It seemed like I had to, run the ball 30 times a game just to get some decent, rushing yards out of it. So hopefully we can pick up a couple of offensive linemen and definitely defensive linemen in the draft. But a couple honorable mentions from the season. I think my defensive MVP would just have to. I'll just put the whole secondary as a whole. Again, between my secondary, I had 20 picks, which is absolutely outstanding. Not counting what the linebackers did, so they were really, really, really good. Offensively, I would have to say Blake Bortles. 34 touchdowns, 14 INTs, 4,000 yards. Really spectacular. So that's what I'm going to give, those end of the year awards, if you say. If I had to give it to one particular player, though, on defense, I'll have to say Jalen Ramsey, honestly. Telvin Smith, he probably would have made it, but he actually missed 6 games, I think, due to injury. And Arthur Brown came in and stepped up and played really well. So I think I'll have to give it to Jalen Ramsey for the defense. And obviously, Denard Robinson will be the special teams player of the year. So again, we started at 0-5, mainly due to free wins. Went on I believe I actually went 1-6, maybe 2-7, 2-6, one of those two, and just batted out the rest, and actually ended up winning the division after an 0-5 start. So, and it was not an easy division, particularly with the Titans user. I can't think of his name right now, but he's really good. Gave me a couple of games. So I don't expect next year to be like the end of this year was. So hopefully I'll be able to dedicate more to be able to play all my games and that nature. Also looking to sign another tight end. I'm not really sure what happened, but Mercedes Lewis, that's what I'll call him. Apparently he's not on my roster anymore, and I can't find him in free agency. So again, I don't know if somebody else signed him, or if somebody else signed him, or he retired. But I wouldn't think he would retire, but maybe he did. And I just missed that part of the off season. I've had a crazy schedule with work and school. So let's see what else I want to talk about. That's probably about it. Again, we won the division. Got to be happy with that. I think I have a really good team coming back next year. Again, I just really need to pick up that pass rush. If I can get a good pass rush, the defense is really going to be something special. So outside of that, yeah, it's been a pretty good year, all in all. The only thing I hate is how I lost in the playoff game. Me and Mark, who is the Raiders, both threw 10 interceptions total in that game, with me throwing 5 and him throwing 5. So it was a very, very, very ugly game. I couldn't get anything on offense going. But long story short, with the last just over 2 minutes left in the game, I scored to go up 26-21, so he had to score a touchdown. And he ended up scoring in the last 2 minutes on pretty much a Hail Mary throw. It was on his own 40, less than 30 seconds left in the game. He just kind of threw it up for Cooper. Can't think of his name, Amari Cooper, and Amari Cooper just made a play. So I couldn't really be that mad about it. So that's probably the only thing I'm salty about from last year. So all in all, I'm really excited to see what type of pass rush I can bring in and get started. So hope you guys enjoy the rest of these highlights, and I will see you guys next year.
Murray, the low setback. To throw Mariota, and he can't get rid of it. First down, Mariota, and he is going to be taken down. And that's so here we go now, an extra defensive back in there on 3rd and 10. Now Bortles. There goes Allen Hurns. Touchdown, Jaguars. My board.
And that type of play justifies the faith I had in him.
Desperation time, Mariota. And he's going to be intercepted a third time. It's on second down. Here's Locke. Into double coverage, and it's intercepted. A great read, and it's picked off. And he brings the eye. They go back to the ground attack here. It's Ivory. 20. Touchdown, Jaguar.
Good about themselves gaining some momentum as they force them into a likely punting situation.
He's been a busy man here in this first half as he gets it away. Oh, he slipped right by him. A great return there. On first down, Bortles. It's caught right side, it turns. Touchdown, Jaguar.
The general rule, what they're looking for now is a little more consistency. Move the ball at least a few times up.
Try to get it to Williams, but it's intercepted. A great read, and it's picked off. And they will finally get him, but not
pretty good about their game plan, and thought there were some holes in the defense, and they exploited them the last time out.
And he will get this into the end zone.
Now let's go.
Now Hogan. He rifles one that's intercepted. A great read, and it's trying to shake off the interception. Nowhere to go here. He lost the football.
On plays like this, stop them defensively, get the ball back for the offense, and let's go downfield.
Jaguar pressure, and a Jaguars defensive back on the field here.
Definitely want to play coverage here.
Going for Hilton, and it's intercepted. Picked off by Tashawn.
You know you've got a drag route on as your primary call. You've got to be really careful as a passer about how far you let your guy go, because he might want.
And he's going to be intercepted a third time. Picked off. Is Manning going up top into double coverage, and it's intercepted.
Get sacked.
Yeah, what's perfectly called for a defense to attack a screen?
Typically a blitz. And
he fires one that's intercepted. Picked off by the line. Manning to throw on second down. And for the third time here in this half, it's intercepted. Manning picked off by his former teammate. Here on third down. On third and long, it's Manning. And his pass is intercepted for the fourth time today. A great read, and it's picked.
The point you just made there. And if you throw the football and it's incomplete,
he rifles one that's intercepted. A great read, and it's picked off. It's a foot race. And he will take this one home. It's a touchdown.
Every now and then, those
58 rail. Flag 58 rail.
Into the red zone, it's Bortles. This will be caught at the 2. And he will get